But Tom, let's get to our first topic.
Yeah.
We have a movie review. Adam Sandler's Spaceman, which is available now on Netflix, came out a couple weeks ago. We ran the trailer about a month or two ago, and we were like, man, this actually looks pretty decent. There's a lot of potential here. It's got Adam Sandler in another dramatic role. He's paired up with Carey Mulligan, another really good actress, and it's directed by John Rank, who directed several episodes of HBO's Chernobyl.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got this sci-fi introspective movie, and with a talented cast and a good director at the helm. I mean, what could go wrong, right?
Right.
Movie comes out a couple weeks ago. Didn't do great with reviews. It's very kind of like divisive almost. There's some really high reviews and there's some very low reviews.
Makes sense.
And a lot of stuff and a little bit in between. Very typical for an Adam Sandler film, but even more so like some of his dramatic stuff. But Tone, I want to come to you first, and obviously I know Britt has some comments. I want to hear Britt's comments in the chat. And if anyone else has seen this movie, let us know in the comments what you thought of it. But Tone, coming to you first, man. Spaceman.
Yeah.
What do you think?
First of all, it's a gorgeous film.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely gorgeous. Even the fact that one of the main characters is a 8-legged demon, as you will.
Yeah, there he is.
Right.
Hanush.
It's just it's visually pleasing. I feel like this movie. Let me try to see how I want to say this. So, I understand why it's divisive because I feel like, especially in this day and age, sometimes, when you watch these movies, you're trying to escape. You want something that's kind of easy to intake, swallow.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get this movie, a movie like this, where it's not like other thinking movies necessarily, where you're trying to cerebrally figure things out or anything. This one is literally like challenging you almost, like really getting you to kind of open up and think, be introspective, kind of reflect. I don't want to jump into too fast on some of the movies that this gives me vibes on, but there are some a movie in particular that's kind of giving me a little bit of vibes of as well too. But this also still stands alone on its own legs as well too, all 8 of them even. But as I'm watching this and I'm listening to the things that's going on with Adam and who he's talking to, and there's always going to be a question of, is it or isn't it kind of thing as well too. And I don't want to spoil too much of that, but by the time you get to the end of the movie, you've gone on quite a journey that I feel like is very existential, and that's kind of rare sometimes in movies these days. We get a lot of great A24 cerebral thinking movies these days where it wants you to think, it wants to challenge your thought, it wants to leave you trying to figure out and pondering where is this movie is going to probably grab your heartstrings or whatever it might be and just make you feel some kind of way. And I can tell you by sitting on the couch next to somebody in the chat that it definitely made somebody feel some kind of way.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting to see that because, I sometimes I think she may or may not have been sobbing. She's a little bit more, I think, sensitive on certain things just generally anyways. Yep. This was different to see that because you could tell it like literally almost like unlocked something.
Oh, yeah.
And I was really surprised by that. And Adam Sandler, like, listen, I'm very critical of Adam Sandler. I love old school Adam Sandler. I grew up on SNL. I grew up on him on SNL and his old movies and his comedies. His track record of movies over the last 30 years has been a lot of shit to me. And I'm very full on it. Even the ones that people like, even Big Daddy, where I know people love, I'm just like, is there a little Nicky? I don't give a shit. Uncut Gems was something I know that when it came out, it was something we were really excited about. And overall, like, I felt like the story was kind of a miss. But his performance he did really well, and I thought he did really great. And honestly, things like, was it Spanglish? I really like Spanglish.
Spanglish, Drunk Punch
like,
Love.
He has range. He just needs the right material.
Right.
And this was the right material. And, like, while I don't feel like it challenged him necessarily, and maybe it did, I guess, in some perspective, but this was a showcase of how he can act. Basically, by himself. And it was really impressive. I mean, listen, the Carey Mulligan, I'd say the only thing I thought was that there wasn't enough of her. I love Carey Mulligan.
I agree with that.
There could have been more of her, but man, this is quite a surprise and shock to, for one, a Netflix putting out a good fucking movie.
Right.
2, having Adam Sandler Netflix coming out with a good movie.
Right.
And 3, just being something that comes out of left field and you were like, and just didn't realize what it was going to do to you. So, it's a movie I feel like I need to watch again because I don't feel like I took it in as much as I could have, and you know, I know I was a little distracted that evening as well too with all the basement stuff going on and whatnot too. But I took away quite a lot with it as well too. So I definitely feel like if you're somebody who likes that kind of storytelling, that could be prepared to like, is it dusty in here? You need to watch this movie because it's definitely done very, very well. And Paul Dano,
oh yeah, it's Hanush.
chef's
Yeah.
kiss,
He's really
as they
good.
say. Awesome.
Yeah, no. So basically, you know, this story is about Adam Sandler. He plays Jakob, and he is an astronaut that is going into on a deep space mission as he passed Jupiter, investigating some kind of like an anomaly in space that has been like haunting the skies of the of Earth and everything else nearby. And so he's up there they're trying to beat the South Korean astronauts that are going up there. They want to be the first one to investigate it. And he's on this journey, and he's left behind his wife who's pregnant, and they've kind of grown distant throughout his rise to the ranks to go on this mission. They have grown distant with one another. And as he's up there, this is where I feel like Adam Sandler has done some of his best work because, as you mentioned, you know, when you're basically solo in a movie, this is basically like Tom Hanks in Castaway for the most part.
It is.
You have to rely on the actor. He's the guy that's carrying this film, and you know he does everything necessary to carry all the scenes, all the heavy lifting, emotional scenes. He does a phenomenal job with that as he's coming to terms with the relationship with his wife and how he's kind of like got these self-inflicted, like, I don't want to say vices, but like just. He's got his relationship with his wife has deteriorated over the years, and he's may or not have just forgotten how important she is to him.
And when you're out there in the space,
you get a lot of time to think.
Yeah, you're lonely. You start to kind of reflect on that thing.
Yes, and I feel like that's something you mentioned. You know why this might resonate with some people in either a positive or a negative way. Is I feel like there are a lot of people like Jakob, who have that type of relationship. Maybe it hits when it strikes that chord with them, it's because they realize it's something that they've been guilty of in the past and they were never able to remedy it.
Sure.
Or maybe there are people who watched it who have gone through it and they were able to remedy it and they can understand and and relate in that way. So, I mean, there are going to be some folks who are going to watch this and be going, I don't know if I like this because I've gone through this and I've come out on the negative side of it. And there's going to be other people who have seen it that are going to be like, oh, man, I can understand what he's going through. And they're more positive about it because they've come out on the good side of things.
Right.
And again, it's all about reflecting and introspective and coming to terms and holding yourself accountable for the things that you do and how you treat people. So I feel like Adam Sandler is phenomenal in this movie. He does a great job in all the scenes that is necessary for him to carry the scene. It's emotional and has a lot of weight to it. The other part of this movie that I really enjoyed was Max Richter's just like haunting trance-like sci-fi score. Like the soundtrack does such a great job that it complements the impressive like deep space setting, and it really helps elevate those dramatic scenes. I mean, it's very trance, like it's just something that like if you're watching
trance is a good word.
The round sound, I mean, you are really pulled into the scenes, not just the visuals of everything, but the emotional moments. Like it is just all really well done. So I mean, you're really into most of these scenes. It's an incredibly well put together movie production wise in terms of its visuals and its music, the score to the film. So shout out to Max Richter's for just an incredible soundtrack. Now the story itself, I do feel like it takes a little while. It's kind of a slow burn to get to the point where it's kind of drive home.
It is not an exciting movie.
It's not a fast-paced movie. It's a thinking movie, and it's a movie that's going to like I said, cause a lot of reflection and kind of looking in a mirror for a lot of people. And again, it's going to depend on each person's individual experiences in life, how they're going to relate to this film. But like I do feel like there were a couple pacing issues. I don't know if there was. It almost seemed like there were some scenes where like I almost felt like they really wanted to like tap into Adam Sandler's humor, and they kind of like they didn't go for it all the way. It just kind of like just seemed out of place.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a couple of those scenes, and so I put that more on the writing and the direction of the film, and some of those scenes that are just a little bit goofy. But like you said, man, I feel like the biggest complaint I have with this movie is I love Carey Mulligan. but I really wish they would have utilized her more and really fleshed out her character more, because she is an integral part of Jakob and his journey. And so I wish they would have really dove into her character more, and how and the ways that she was doing everything she could to show Jakob, like, I love you, and that you're an important part of me. I want to be there with I want to be a part of everything with you,
Right.
and really drive that home, because that would have added more weight to Jakob's story arc. So I feel like, when you have somebody talented like Carey Mulligan, you probably had a couple of emotional scenes you could have put in there. Now, I am not familiar with the book, and maybe the book doesn't have those scenes. Maybe that's one of the critiques of the book. I don't know. All I know is it would have added a lot of emotional weight to Jakob's storyline if we would have got a little bit more about Lenka.
Yeah, and I almost wonder if and this is just me off the top of my head on this, the reason they didn't do that was because this is almost like a POV, like it's all just
Right.
because it's from his perspective, like. But I definitely agree. Like,
I just feel like it would have gave his perspective even more depth.
Yeah, like just
if
having
you had more
of,
from her.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the movie was. Brittany says, I think the movie was more about showcasing his perspective, and I feel as the movie went on, we got more of those special flashbacks. I agree, we do. There is enough there. I just feel like you could have done a lot more with Carey Mulligan, some more emotional, impactful scenes with her to really drive it home. Like I said, I didn't mind her in this movie. I just felt like she was underutilized. I feel like you could have gotten more out of her to realize how important she was. I just feel like there was some missed opportunity there to really kind of add some depth to her character.
Trick also said he thought that was kind of the point because he was so distant from her too.
I think that's. Look, that part is a great thing. I think then if the flashbacks were something important, though, I feel like you could have done more with those flashbacks.
I think it's fair perspective for sure.
Just add a little bit more to her, just to really drive home his side of the story.
Well, I'm surprised even towards the end, like those, like a lot of that stuff was not really happening as often, and it was more focusing on him and Hanush, which I kind of get because it was in the moment. But like I felt like there was some parallels between Hanush as well and as her too, So I don't know, but at the end of the day, it's quite a wowzer movie. I just happened to be on Netflix and being like, bro, I forgot this came out. Like, we can talk about this. I want to talk about this. So, that's why we were able to watch it right away too. So,
but yeah, and then just to circle back to what you said about Paul Dano, just as Hanush, just a great performance. It's hard to get by in a voice performance, but Paul Dano has shown that he can do anything. He really can. He can literally do anything in any type of role, in any type of medium, and I really, really dig that about him. And he was great as Hanush. But overall, man, this is just one of those movies where, like, Brittany was emotional. There were some scenes where I was like, man, this is like hitting pretty deep. There's some heavy scenes here. But like I was into it the whole time. Like Adam Sandler was amazing in it. The score was incredible in it. What the cosmic scenery was just beautiful. It just felt like it was a really good movie all around. Yeah, no, look, I can totally understand why this movie might not have gone over well with a lot of people. It is a different type of film. But I do feel like some of that comes down to the individual and what they've experienced in real life, because this movie does touch on some kind of heady themes that a lot of people might have a hard time accepting or
some
revisiting.
People just don't want to do. Yeah, some people just don't like that kind of movie.
Like you
either,
said,
right?
they're looking for escapism, and there are some people who probably get hit a little bit harder by this sort of thing, either because they were a victim of it or because they were, something that they might have done that they regret. Who knows?
Yeah, and to kind of get the elephant out of the room on this as well too. Where he was sleeping definitely looked like the butthole, like right around the. Every night he'd get into his little butthole, and slide into those intestines there. I was like, I had to comment on that too. I'm like, is he sleeping in like a butthole? Like, what's going on there?
But yeah, totally underrated flick, man. I like I said, I know when the reviews came out, they were very divisive. And it was kind of all over the place. Like I said, I think it's sitting at like a 55 or something like on Rotten Tomatoes, so not like terrible. It's close to being fresh. I think 60 is fresh. Yeah. So it's kind of there, but yeah, if you look at some of the reviews, they're kind of all over the place. Some people fucking love it, and some people just didn't. So I feel like it's one of those movies where it's up for interpretation, and it's really going to depend on the individual who's seeing it. But I thought it was a really good film, especially I don't know, maybe the bar was low because you said it's Netflix, it's Adam Sandler, and typically those movies are fucking garbage.
Yeah.
But coming away from this, hour and 40-some minutes, I was just like, this is a fucking good flick, dude. So, big fan of it. We want to get you guys and girls' thoughts. If you're watching on YouTube, Let us know in the comments below what you thought of Spaceman. Have you even watched it? I feel like there's a lot of people that might have just kind of let this thing go by because they automatically assume Netflix, Adam Sandler, I'm good.
Right.
I'm all set on this.
Yeah.
So let us know in the comments what you think of it. I thought it was really, really good. Tone really enjoyed it, and Brittany was a sob